Welcome to Toy Polloi.
Hello and welcome to another video from Toy Polloi. Today we're going to be reviewing these Masters of the Universe micro collection figures that are currently available in the US in the Dollar Tree stores. These have yet to actually reach the UK market, so I immediately need to say a massive thank you to one of my Patreons, Mark, who very kindly sent these over from the US. As you can see, there are 5 figures to collect. We have Merman, Skeletor, Man-at-Arms, He-Man and Orko. Each of the figures comes on its own little stand and they're actually pretty detailed for what they are. So let's take a closer look at the figures. We'll start with my favourites, obviously Skeletor and He-Man. As you can see, Skeletor comes nicely packaged and he's in a pretty sort of angry pose there. He's got his staff and a nice amount of detail on it. The card itself doesn't actually tell you a great deal. It obviously says Skeletor on the side and then it says Mattel and Micro Collection at the bottom there. On the back there's a whole sort of different load of copyright information in multiple languages, but not a lot else apart from Mattel Canada Inc. at the top. And all the cards are pretty much the same, so you get the burst of exploding rocks behind the figure and then the Masters of the Universe logo at the top. On the He-Man, again, it's He-Man in a sort of action pose with his sword raised. It looks like a fair amount of detail on him and a sort of nice paint application. The stands all say Masters of the Universe on them as well. You can just about see that there. So that's those two. We bring in the others. We have Merman, again in an action pose and much the same as the other figures. Doesn't say a lot on the card apart from his name. We have Orko, which again, he's looking pretty good. That's a really nice looking figure. I think that one is probably my favourite just for the way he is sculpted. It does say Masters of the Universe on the stand, but his actual stand sort of goes right through the logo. They've not modified it so that the logo is not sort of cut in half by that. But otherwise it looks pretty cool. And then finally we have a Man-at-Arms, again in an action pose and looking sort of pretty good. There are nice lots of detail. So really with all of these what you want to do is open them up. And then I also have a bit of a comparison to show you because I actually have something in my collection that I think these are sort of harking back to. But let's get these figures open and we'll see what they look like before I do that. Out of the packet, I think they look great. There's a real sort of nice level of detail going on. The weapons are a little bit bent, but that doesn't sort of make that much difference to them. But the actual sort of sculpting looks great, and you can see how much paint application has gone on Skeletor's face to make him look so sort of angry and aggressive. I think it's a really nice, sort of nicely done figure. As you can see, everything is painted as it should be. If we have a look at He-Man, again, you can see there's a great amount of detail on the sculpt itself. He's sort of got less detail on his face, but enough to make it look like He-Man. The eyebrows and eyes are really very well painted. Then we move on to Orko, which I do actually think is my favourite. I think he works the best at this sort of scale. It's really sort of nicely detailed, and you can see there's sort of a good sculpting on his scarf there and around his hat. I just think he's probably my favourite of the figures. We've also got Merman. I'm going to say he's probably my least favourite. I'm not quite sure why. I think the paint application on this one is not as good as the others, but he still looks really nice. I think he's still sort of a fairly acceptable looking figure. And then finally we have Man-at-Arms. Again, possibly not the greatest of paint applications. You can see the face does have some detail to it, but the moustache is, you know, sort of fairly poorly painted on, but the overall effect of him is pretty good. And considering these are all sold for $1 each, I think it's quite remarkable what they can do. They measure about 2 inches tall, so that's about 5 centimeters for us in the UK. Hopefully at some point they will appear in the sort of Poundland shops here like the Transformers have, because it would be nice to see these just sort of for everybody to buy. Currently, as I say, you can only get them in the US, so these have been sort of shipped over to the UK for me. Now, I did say I had something I wanted to compare these to, and that is something that I've had in my collection for quite a long time, and that is some vintage pencil toppers. Now, these are things that you could buy back when He-Man was first sort of on the TV, so back in the mid-80s, and they are things that you put on top of pencils. So if we turn them over, they have a rather sort of nastily misplaced hole on the back that you can stick your pencil in. As you can see, that looks a little bit, yeah, well, ill-placed, shall we say. But these figures bear a striking resemblance to these new ones. You can see the size of them is about the same. Even the posing is fairly similar. That's Skeletor there. If I bring in my He-Man, you can see that, again, it's roughly the same sort of thing. Obviously, he's got an axe on this one, but it's just remarkable that after all these years, they've made something that looks a lot like a vintage thing that you could buy. So those two look quite similar. I do have Beastman, but obviously there isn't a Beastman version here. I've also got Teela in these small pencil toppers. But then we also have Man-at-Arms. And again, it's quite remarkable how close those two look, considering these are sort of 30 years apart. These were very cheaply made. You can see that the paint application on them is pretty terrible. If we look at Man-at-Arms there, he's almost got no face because it's so badly painted, but they were sold very cheaply in sort of stationery shops. I just think it's quite interesting that they are still sort of relevant today, that things like this actually look quite a lot like these modern ones. So I just thought it was interesting that these are so similar in size and stature to what they're producing for this micro collection. So currently there are only 5 of these available. Hopefully they will produce some more, because I think these are probably the best of the lot. I prefer these even over the Transformers sort of minifigures that I've reviewed recently. I think these look so nice. The sculpting on them is great, and the paint application overall is really nice. But as I mentioned, these are currently only available in the US. Hopefully someone will bring these over to the UK, because I do think there certainly would be something that would sell quite well. He-Man and the Masters of the Universe is actually sort of quite popular at the moment. So I think there's a lot of collectors in the UK who would definitely want to get some of those. Again, I do need to say a massive thank you to Mark for very kindly sending these over to me. It's much appreciated. If you've enjoyed this review, then why not check out my G.I. Joe and Transformers minifigure reviews as well. And if you've really enjoyed it, then hit the subscribe button and tap the bell to be notified each time I upload a new video. And thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching Toy Polloi. Subscribe for more great videos. You can also follow Toy Polloi on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram.